Today we're going to take a look at two different interpretations of the classic dish Kung Pao Chicken. First, we're going to share the ultra classic and authentic recipe that is heavily influenced by this man, and this man. Then, after examining the original authentic dish, we made some changes that would suit our taste buds a little bit better. Let's take a look. First, let's look at the original authentic recipe. We're going to start by preparing spring onions, garlic, and ginger. We're going to need a ratio of about 3 to 2 to 1 of the three ingredients. For the spring onions, you're going to want to use the nice big chunky leek-like Chinese spring onions, not the really thin small ones. These have a bit more of a pungent flavor that isn't really found with any other type of onion. You're going to want to quarter your spring onion and then chop it into bits that are about the size of your thumbnail. And then we're going to prepare the ginger. For the ginger, you're going to want to partially peel the ginger. The skin has a different flavor from the flesh. We don't want too much of it. And if you remove all of the skin, it might not be pungent enough. We made big diamond-shaped slices with the ginger because we want these thick slices to be distinguishable from every other ingredient. We want to be able to pick out the ginger really easily from the dish because no one likes eating whole chunks of ginger. Now for the garlic, we are also going to be using some chunky slices. The reason why we don't want to use too thin of a slice is they tend to stick on every other ingredient and not release their flavors fully. We're going to save the scraps from processing all three ingredients and put them into a bowl, then pour around 55-60 degrees of warm water over it. This is going to be like a ginger, garlic, and spring onion tea that we're going to use to marinate the chicken. This both reduces food waste and prevents the marinade from tasting too strong. We chose boneless pieces of chicken thigh and chopped them into bite-sized pieces. We chose chicken thigh because they're a little bit fattier and give a richer flavor, especially when complemented with the sweet and sour Kung Pao sauce. To marinate the chicken, we're going to start with a pinch of salt. Then we're going to follow with a little bit of white pepper. If you can't find white pepper, you can of course use finely ground black pepper, but make sure that black pepper is a little bit stale. You don't want it to be too strong and overtake the other flavors in the dish. Now you're going to add just a little bit of sugar, which will bring out more umami. Remember that bowl of ginger and spring onion tea that we made? We're going to add that to the marinade and we're going to beat that into the chicken with a grabby motion. Now the reason we beat the water into the chicken in this particular way is because this prevents us from breaking up all the fibers in the chicken, which means the chicken will bleed out all of its moisture, as well as the fact that the chicken will just become overly tenderized. We want it to be slightly snappy to the tooth, but still have lots of juice. You're going to repeat this process until you can't beat any more water into the chicken. When you're done, it should look something like this. The chicken should look almost as if there's like a thin film of goo on top of it, and when you pull the chicken apart, there should be no free running water on the bottom of the bowl. When you do finish, we're going to start by adding in a little bit of soy sauce as the base of the marinade. Again, you're going to want to repeat the motion that we've been doing this entire time, and again beat the soy sauce into the chicken. Make sure you beat the soy sauce into the chicken, otherwise when we flash fry this thing later, it's going to burn. It'll be a real shame if all of the juices and flavors we've just beat into the chicken just float out when we flash fried it. The way we're going to prevent that is we're going to be using cornstarch. We're going to beat cornstarch into the chicken now. Now it's not going to actually be absorbed into the chicken, but it'll look like it's being absorbed by the chicken. You're going to want to keep beating in starch until there's a thin layer of starchy slurry on top of the chicken. You don't want to go any further because we don't want to actually crust the chicken, and you don't want any less because you'll lose moisture. When you're done, it should look something like this. To prevent the pieces of chicken from drying up and sticking together and not coming apart when we fry it, we're going to add just a little bit of oil. We're going to use peanut oil here because it adds in a little bit more nutty flavors, which we want. Now, when we cook the chicken, everything's going to happen really quickly, so we want to prepare that sauce bowl before we actually cook the chicken. For the sauce bowl, I actually measured exactly how much ingredients I put in, but take these with a grain of salt because your sugar, your salt, and your soy sauce is all going to taste different. So, just remember, trust your tongue, taste while you do this, and not the measurement. We're going to be using about 30 grams of sugar with 30 grams of black vinegar. The black vinegar is from Zhenjiang, which is slightly less strongly flavored than what you get from Shanxi or other western parts of China. Then you want around 10 grams of soy. If you want a bit more color in the sauce, you can use a little bit more dark soy on top of that. We added in a little bit more extra salt on top of this because the soy we used wasn't quite salty enough. You can, of course, add in a little bit more salt or even MSG if you find the sauce to be lacking in flavor. This is, again, up to you and depends on the rest of the ingredients that you used. Now, on top of that, we're going to dilute it with a little bit of water, and then we're going to add starch and turn this into a slightly starchy slurry. It's about 5 or 6 grams of starch, but it depends on the starch that you use. The point of this is just so the sauce is thick enough to coat the chicken. You're going to want to experiment until you find the right amount because it depends on your starch. We're going to want to add about 1/3 of the spring onions, garlic, and ginger that we prepared into the bowl. We're going to pre-infuse the sauce a little bit and save the rest for hot stir frying. Now this is a Sichuanese dish, so we will be using dried chilies. Now you want to pick dried chilies that are not too spicy because despite popular misconception, Sichuanese dishes generally want the chilies for its fragrance and its flavor and its umami and not actually the spice. That's precisely why we're cutting it into chunks and removing most of the seeds, because it adds a unpleasant bitter flavor to the dish and too much spice. Now we're going to go through a process called Hua You, because we don't want the meat to release juices when we're stir frying it. What we're going to do is we're going to seal it in by quickly sliding it through hot oil. What this will do is it will create an even sear across different parts of the meat and partially cook the dish so we can be really quick with our stir frying process. Now, you don't want to slide in oil for too long. We're trying to seal the chicken and just about cook it. We're going to be stir frying it later so it doesn't even need to be completely cooked. You want to be quick. Browning the chicken, adding caramelization will ruin the umami flavors of this dish. It looks something like this when you're done. Okay, now we're going to move really fast. We're going to prepare in a pan some oil and some Sichuan peppercorns. We want to lightly toast it in the oil so it releases all of its flavors. As soon as it's toasted, we're going to use this as the oil for our stir fry. Okay, string in the peppercorn oil, then we're going to add the chilies, give it a quick fry, and then we're going to give a few tosses to the garlic, spring onion, and ginger that we prepared earlier. And then we can add our chicken. Once again, we only want to give a few tosses to our chicken because again, we want it to be tender and juicy and not ruin the umami flavors. And then to this, we're going to be adding some roasted peanuts, which will add some nice nutty flavors and is part of the traditional recipe. Now we're going to toss until the oil's evenly combined with the chicken. Don't stir with a spatula. You'll bruise the chicken and make it lose all of its juices again. Get your juice bowl, make sure it's evenly combined. The starch will be settled to the bottom if you left it for too long, so make sure you stir again. Add it to the chicken and then start tossing. You want to use a motion of twirling and tossing, and slowly combining peanut oil in the process. Don't stir with a spatula because again, the chicken will release juices, the sauce and the oil will split, and the dish will come out not as evenly coated or bright. Now once the chicken is bright and evenly coated, you're done. Get it out to a dish, get it out to a bowl, and you can start enjoying it. The dish should be really nice and savory. There should be an abundance of umami even though we use no MSG, and it should have a really nutty overtone with slight bits of sour and sweet to support the dish's overall flavor profile. This is very different from the sort of heavily sweet and sour dish you'll find in somewhere like Panda Express. The flavor is great, but there's a couple of problems that we found. The dried chilies that we were able to obtain in Canada didn't taste quite as fruity as something that we would have gotten from China. The ginger and the spring onion and the vinegar all taste slightly different. To compensate for the differences in ingredients, we made a couple of changes to the dish. The chicken is still marinated the exact same way, but to the Sichuan peppercorn oil, we added some leaves of local spring onion that we grew ourselves. The local spring onion that they sell is just not quite as good as what they have in China, so this will help compensate for it. We also mixed in some bell peppers and onions to the stir-fry mix, which will help bring out even more sweet flavors that are not available in local spring onions. The next change, which is using pecan and walnuts instead of peanuts, is something we've always wanted to do. I don't know what it is, we just like the flavor of this better and we think it makes the dish a lot fruitier. One of the big issues that we faced was our electric stovetop. Where we live, there are only electric stovetops. And these things, compared to what are literal rocket engines that we have in China with live fire and compressed air, don't produce enough heat. So we have to cook the chicken for longer. And the sauce dries up too quickly. The solution, of course, is to just dilute it down a little bit further with a bit more water. If you look at the chicken being tossed now, you'll see that there's slightly more sauce, just enough to both coat the chicken and have a little bit sitting on the bottom of the bowl when we have the dish taken out. This adds a little bit more, dare I say, umami and fruity flavors. I think you can tell there's a theme here to the dish, and also helps the dish look a little bit brighter. Now, to me and Arwen, this is the best Kung Pao chicken, hands down, that we've tasted outside of Sichuan. It is amazingly complex. It is savory, fruity, and nutty, with an amazing amount of umami and just the right amount of sweet and sour to raise your appetite as an undernote. The bell peppers and the walnuts contribute a lot to this when you don't have the same quality ingredients and vinegars available in Canada. You should honestly give this a go at home. It's actually not difficult to execute, just a lot of steps and ingredients. Give it a go, I think you'll love it.